Find the derivative of g of t equals 6t plus 1 times the tangent of 2t, then evaluate g prime of pi over 6. So g of t here is the product of two functions. We have a 6t plus 1 multiplying a tangent of 2t. Therefore, we're going to have to make use of the product rule for the derivative. G prime of t will be the derivative of the first. The first is 6t plus 1. The derivative of that will be a 6 times the second left alone, tangent of 2t, plus the first left alone, 6t plus 1, times the derivative of the second. The derivative of tangent is secant squared, leave its inside alone, and then multiply by the derivative of the inside of the trig function to complete the chain rule. Derivative of 2t is a 2. And so that gives us 6 tangent of 2t plus, and what we can do with this 2 is it can move to the front, and it can even distribute that 6t plus 1 and be written as 12t plus 2, or left factored out. Either version is fine. And then secant squared of 2t. So there's our derivative, g prime of t. The next thing to do is evaluate g prime of pi over 6. Means to plug a pi over 6 in for each of the t's. So g prime of pi over 6 equals 6 tangent of 2 pi over 6 plus 12 times pi over 6 plus 2 times secant squared of 2 pi over 6. So we have 6 times the tangent of 2 pi over 6 can reduce to pi over 3, so the tangent of pi over 3, plus the quantity 12 pi over 6, and we multiply, and then plus 2. And then we have the secant of 2 pi over 6, which will reduce to pi over 3. But then secant squared means take the secant and square that result. So this will equal to 6 times the tangent of pi over 3, the sine of pi over 3, root 3 over 2 over the cosine of pi over 3, 1/2, plus 12 pi over 6 is a 2 pi, plus 2. And then the secant of pi over 3 means 1 over the cosine of pi over 3. The cosine of pi over 3 is a 1/2, so 1 over the 1/2 and then quantity squared. The next thing to do is reciprocate the denominator of the fractions that are in parentheses. That'll make it a 2 over 1, and then multiply with the numerator. And likewise for the 1 over 1/2, that'll be 1 times 2 over 1, and then quantity squared. We can now multiply the fractions. Now here the 2's can cancel because one's in the numerator, one's in the denominator, and they're multiplying each other. So we will now have 6 times a root 3 plus 2 pi plus 2, and then 1 times 2 over 1 is a 2, and then squared. 6 times root 3 can be written as 6 root 3 plus 2 pi plus 2 times 2 squared, which is a 4. The next thing to do is distribute that 4 in. And we will have 6 root 3 plus 8 pi plus 8.